Amanda. How are you doing?
I'm good, just chilling.
Okay, you're saying
I'm
just
not in
chilling, but
jail. I am not in
I,
jail right now.
when you say just chilling with that background, I was a little bit worried. Before we get too far and figure out exactly where you are, we have to remember today's episode is going to be a good one. We're going to talk to Hannah Long from the graduate programs because I've been getting a ton of questions from undergrad students who either apply to the wrong school or they just kind of don't know. So I thought it'd be really good to get her in and talk all about graduate school and what SVSU offers. And then also I'll have some information about how we get you ready for graduate school. But I'm going to talk first about why graduate school is important so that we don't end up like you, because right now it looks like you're in like the federal penitentiary. I'm not going to lie. So where are you and
Yeah.
what's happening?
I'm in my back room of my store and I had to turn it this way because there's a giant hole right there and I thought that would be an eyesore, but yeah, I'm at work right now, so.
Oh, you're at work, right? So we're just gonna knock out this episode while you're at work. I love it.
Kill two birds with one
Multitasking.
stone.
Wow, I never had a job like that, but that's awesome. All right, cool. Well, let's roll it. Let's. I'm gonna try to get Hannah to come on in. We're gonna ask her to join her, and let's hear all about graduate programs. I'm glad you're not in jail, to be honest, because quite frankly, I know that I would be the person you call, and that's okay. You can call me, but just don't expect any bail money.
Oh
Okay.
my god.
Hi, Hannah. How are you doing?
Hello.
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So we have to explain first. Amanda is not in jail. I know it looks like it. At first, I thought we were gonna do this episode and her to, talk to me about bail money, but
Sometimes it
she's
does
okay.
feel like jail, I will say that.
That's what part-time jobs are for sometimes. It's okay. It's building character.
Right.
Character. So, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us. Today I really wanted to take some time. I've been getting a lot of questions from undergrads, from students who are research. We use all sorts of terms in higher ed, and quite frankly, students who are coming out of high school, getting ready to join college, they don't even know what these terms mean. But I think it'd be great to kind of highlight some of the cool things that you and in your office are doing in the graduate programs. So I'm going to start out with the first question is, and this is the question I get all the time, so I want your answer, not mine. How is grad school different from undergrad? What is the difference?
So I think the first difference is it's not as long typically. So, in undergrad, you're 4 or 5 years typically, but with grad school, you're looking at like 2, 3 years. So typically it is a lot shorter. And the best thing about it is it's also what you care about. So, if you're in nursing, say you do one of our nursing programs, so like a Master of Science in Nursing, you're doing nursing classes. You're not taking nursing classes mixed with a biology and an art class to get your general education. You're doing what you care about, what's focused. So you're not spending time doing things that you don't necessarily love doing. You get to spend a lot more time doing what you love and learning about what you love.
Which is good. I definitely agree with you on the difference between those. I also remind students that graduate school, that's college after you earn your bachelor's degree, right? So in your bachelor's degree, we've talked in the past, kind of the point of earning your bachelor's degree is to be well-rounded and well-versed, have a background across many things. That's why Amanda right now is reading the Iliad from cover to cover, right? Or what was it? Was
Yeah.
that weird? Okay, so
Yeah.
it's about having this big rounded background. And now graduate school, you kind of focus in. I've got my graduate degree from SVSU. Thank you very much. And you're right. You now get to kind of focus in on really honing your skills, getting ready for that career in a very specific field. For me, it was education. I got my graduate degree in educational leadership, and I like to consider myself a leader among educators now. But it definitely helped me towards that. So I think that's a big, a real finding. For my students who are leaving high school and getting ready to start undergrad, it's important to understand that graduate work starts after that bachelor's degree. We got to earn that first, and I think that's
And you have
awesome.
that like professional experience, like you feel, you're a peer in the classroom, your faculty is learning alongside of you sometimes, especially if you're working full time, you're bringing in some really cool stories from wherever you're working.
So
So
how do you
Amanda's getting
know?
ready.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
I'm
So
sorry. Go for it.
So how do you know like what graduate program is right for you? Like, do you have to do like for instance, I'm a PTW major. Would I have to do like a PTW graduate program, or could I do like something different? Like, does it have to be connected with your undergrad?
It doesn't necessarily. So, if you're going into, if you're going into medicine, then typically, it's somewhat related. But, my example is like I have health administration as an undergrad, and I have a master's in higher education administration. So very different, but that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to go into education, and I wanted to work in a higher ed setting. So that's kind of the cool thing about grad school is you get a bachelor's degree, and that's really that good first step towards starting your career, kind of figuring out, what do you want to do when you grow up. Like grad school is kind of that program. It's that degree of, it's the next step. Yeah.
That's awesome. Some of us are still trying to figure out what we want to do when we grow up. That would be me in that scenario. So I have to ask, if I were to go back to grad school, how would I apply? What kind of materials, things that I need ready to apply to grad school?
You start, so similar to like an undergraduate application, you fill out the application, the program that you want to start in, and then that's something that's a little bit different depending on where you did an undergrad, but there are supplemental documents. So typically it's a resume or recommendations, licensure, depending on what program you're going into. So it is kind of that next step. So you do have to have like professional references from faculty or employers. That's pretty good.
So one question I have about these documents, recently in our last episode, we talked about undergrad going test optional. Are there test scores that are required for some of your programs?
For some of them, yeah. So our Master of Business Administration does have a GRE, or the College of Business also offers their own test. So that's kind of a nice, depending on where you're applying and how you feel about taking tests, you can do a GRE, something that you can use in the future, or doing our test, at least it's a little bit more personal. You're not in a large classroom taking a test with a bunch of other people, feeling like that, like competition. So we do offer that test as well.
So what makes grad school at SBSU different from like say a different school? Like how is it different from different schools?
Yeah, so I think one really cool thing is a lot of our faculty, they have a terminal degree, so they have a PhD in something, but that's not the route that they just took. They also worked in the field, so they have professional experience before teaching and while teaching. We still have faculty that are teaching in K through 12 school districts, or teaching, in nursing, or are working on the floor at a nursing facility. So we have faculty that are still in they're in it. They know what's going on in the field. They're not, they're not like they're not disconnected. So you as a student coming into the classes don't feel like it's all about, the books. It's also real world experience, which I think is really cool. Coming from a master's program, but also classes are small. And I know in a master's program, typically they're smaller, but you do get to have a very close connection with your faculty. And that's a cool thing, is you get to see, you get to know your faculty, you learn a lot more about them. It makes that classroom experience feel closer. So, you know your peers, but you're also close with your program coordinator and the other faculty that are teaching throughout the whole program.
Hey,
Okay,
Hannah.
so
So wait, hold on. So we have this tradition here that the last question we ask of every episode has nothing to do with anything else that we've ever talked about. We call it our irreverent question of the day. That's my fancy graphics. So Amanda surprised me. Well, 2 episodes ago, she asked her first. It used to be Nic's irreverent question of the day. So I'm gonna find out. Amanda, do you have a question ready, or are you gonna have me ask the irreverent question?
I do.
Oh, now I'm not.
Okay.
Now I'm nervous. I'm sweating. Okay. So
So
irreverent question.
I work with the public. You guys work with the public kind of, but mine's a little different because I work in retail. So I want to know, how is it different working on like campus after you've already graduated than it is like working with like the general public, like what I do.
Ooh, I think she's pining for a job at SVSU, Hannah. Can you feel
Yeah.
that? Do you want to ask both of us, Amanda, or?
Yeah, I want to know from both of you.
All right, I'll let Hannah go first.
So how is it different working on campus than it is working general public? Okay. Good thing I've done both of those, I guess. I will say coming from like I worked in like customer service, like I was a barista like most of my like career.
Nice.
And so one like silly thing is like an office. Like you have a space where you can like put your stuff and it's not like a cart full of drinks and like condensation. But I also think like it's a different feel. You know, working on a college campus, typically people are here for education, more or less, you know? So it's like people, when you interact with people, it's like a lot of times for me, you know, it's questions about like programs or like classes or SVSU in general. Because then, you know, in the general public, when you're like working in like retail or something, it's kind of like, where is this? You know, like I feel like you get to have at least like your conversations with like your customers are way more close. Unless you have a customer that comes to you every single day, you know. So
I love it. So I had a bunch of retail jobs before. Probably my favorite, I worked for the Old Navy back in the day. Yeah, the Old Navy.
The Old Navy.
We called it the Old Navy back then, just to, you know, make it sound cool. Which makes me sound old. Anyways, I would say the biggest difference is between working like retail where you're at now, Amanda, and then kind of starting your career is the fact that it is a career. So right now you're working retail. We won't say what store, but we can't tell from where the back room there because it looks like a jail cell. But when I worked at all my retail jobs, like I clocked out and I was no longer the Old Navy guy. I clocked out and I was no longer on the clock, had to answer, had to be customer service, all that stuff. Now, in the past, I've been in admissions for, I don't know, 17, 18 years, somewhere in there. This is my career. It's kind of, it's not all that I am, but it's part of who I am. So I'll give you a really good example of what I mean by that. About an hour ago, I got an email from my son's one of his kindergarten teachers, one of the specialist teachers. She didn't realize that was my son, but she started talking to him. And if you've ever met my kid, Amanda has, you know that he's a kindergartner who's going to talk your ear off, just like his dad. And she realized pretty quickly that it was my son, and she sent me a picture of him and an email and a thank you and all this stuff. And I'm like, why would she send it? And I look back through my notes. I helped her kids get started in college. So I am Nick Taylor, the admissions person, 24/7 every day to people in the public. So when you start working at a university and you start working those things, I represent my workplace and my school every moment of every day. So it's helped me clean up my act. But also but also, you know, that's the big difference, and I think that's for a lot of us, that's kind of the fun part of it too. That's why it's so important, and we've talked about over and over on this podcast. I think it's so important you take stock and you think about what it is you really like to do. You know, if you're going to be the next president of the United States, that's Amanda's big long-term goal. Lawyer in the meantime, you got to remember that you're going to be a lawyer 24/7. Your profession is, it's not all that you are, but it's part of who you are. So you're going to carry that with you. You're not always going to be the I'll say the shoe salesman that you are now, Amanda. I can say that without giving away your employer.
Yeah, sales is not my forte. I will say that, but
all right, we won't hire you. That's fine. That's good. So, well, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us. As you can see, if you can send Amanda some bail money, we'd appreciate it. We'll work on that for her later. But thanks for joining us. Any last things you want to say?
No, I mean, thanks for, you know, letting me come on out, hang out, and talk more about our grad programs.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Yeah.
We always say
Get my mask.
Nice. Awesome, Amanda. Well, was that helpful?
Yeah. Very
you know,
helpful
something.
since I'm considering like a grad school, I guess, if law school counts, but
You know, at the beginning, I was really kind of questioning, do we want to do an episode here on grad work? And I think in the end, it's really important because even for students like yourself, students who are just starting undergrad, you want to begin with the end in mind, right? So it's important to know all those steps. And SVSU has a lot of great grad programs, and I think Hannah, you know, can help students with that. But if we can get students to think beyond the 4 years, a lot of people think you walk across stage, you get that diploma, and hey, I'm out, I'm done. Whether it's high school, college, learning is a lifelong pursuit,
mhm.
and grad degrees are proof of that. So. All right. Well, you take care of yourself. Hopefully, you get out sometime soon. I won't make any more jail comments on it, but I appreciate you taking your lunch hour, your lunch break here to join me and take care of this. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, you take care of yourself and
Wash your
go.
hands.
I'll go wash my hands. You try to not just chill at work, but you can just chill a little bit.
Okay, I won't chill. It's only two of us today, so we won't be chilling.
All right. Put on your mask. Hold the fort down.
Oh, I will. I got it right here.
Awesome. Take care.
See ya.